Good morning to everyone. Before we formally start, let's bow down our head and let us pray. Panginoon po naming Diyos na lubhang banal at makapangyarihan sa lahat, pinupuri ka pa namin at pinasasalamatan sa umagang ito. Salamat sa pagkakaloob ng panibagong araw na naman sa amin. Maraming salamat sa patuloy na pagpapahiram ng aming mga buhay at lakas na siyang nagagamit namin sa pang-araw-araw, higit lalo ama sa mga gawang paglilingkod sa iyo. Salamat sa pagkakaloob ng araw-araw naming pangangailangan at sa iyong paggabay, pag-iingat sa kabila ng pandemyang lumalaganap. Ngayong umaga ay muli kaming mag-aaral ng aming mga aralin, naway pagkalooban ng malawak na pangunawa, karunungan at kaalamang nagmumula sa iyo ang iyong mga anak, at upang maintindihan namin ang lahat naming pag-aaralan. Pagkaloob din ng kapayapaan sa buo naming pag-aaral at patawarin kami sa aming nagawang mga pagkukulang at pagkakasala. Ang lahat hinihiling namin sa pangalan ni Jesus na aming tagapagligtas. Amen. So, our lesson for today is Building Prototype and MVP Validation. This is the continuation and also the last part of the reports for this week, which is week 8. From the previous reports, we learned that a prototype is a sample of what will eventually become the final product. But do remember po na hindi lahat ng sample o prototype ay magiging final product. Now, why do you need to build a prototype for your product? This was because you can actually hold a version of your proposed product and you can have a better understanding of the design intent. O, mas may intindihan mo kasing mabuti bakit ka nga ba nagde-design. What are you designing and for whom you are designing. To add po, sabi nga natin, with prototyping, you can also collect reviews at every step of developing your product. Ito ay yung hindi pa siya na-distribute sa wider audience. Halimbawa na lang, yung designer or yung engineer na hinire mo para mabuo yung iyong physical prototype. Siyempre, may suggestions yung mga yan in every stage na may makikita silang mga flaws. Okay? So, moving forward, upon discussing our lesson, let's stick and answer this question. How to get your first prototype built? So, gagawa ka nga ng prototype. Pero, paano yun gagawin? So, that's the content of our discussion for today. Here, we have 4 steps to get your first prototype built. Let's start on the first one, which is to create a concept sketch. Sabi dito, draw your idea to help you visualize your prototype in greater detail. While it is possible to use a digital drawing program for this step, it may be more efficient to start on paper first. So, bakit nga ba mas nirekomenda na mag-start ka muna sa papel or sa concept sketching? Kasi at first, you'll have a lot of ideas running through your mind and might competing with each other. So in short po, hindi ka pa basta makaka-decide o makakapili kung ano finally ang ipupursue mo sa mga idea na naisip mo. Also, you'll save time or time efficient siya by drawing this rapidly on paper instead na pipilitin mong i-perfect na agad ito sa tinatawag nating digital drawing. So here on the screen, this is the sample of concept sketching ng mga products. Yan. Punta na tayo sa second step, which is to develop a virtual prototype. Natapos ang concept sketching, nakapili ka na, halimbawa, then it's time for you to put it in virtual drawing. Sabi nga dito, at some point, It's going to be invaluable to create a digital sketch of your idea. A standard digital design tool used by engineers and other professionals is AutoCAD, which enables them to make two-dimensional and three-dimensional renderings. Yun nga, kapag natapos na yung concept sketching, sabi dito, upon putting your sketch into virtual drawing, you should consider also a standard digital design tool. Halimbawa na nga yung sinabi na mga may two-dimensional and three-dimensional renderings. Bakit? Para kasi mas makita ng maliwanag ang every detail ng iyong product. Ganun kasi siya kapag naka two-dimensional at three-dimensional. Mas madali mong makita every detail. Ngayon, after making a virtual prototype, ito pala yung halimbawa ng virtual prototyping. Yan. After making the virtual prototype, sabi dyan, you are now ready to build a physical prototype. If you have the skill, you can build one for yourself. If you need help, there are several types of resources you can tap to get this step done. So this is the third step, building a physical prototype. Now, for instance, wala tayong skill to build one. Kanino tayo dapat magpatulong para mabuo yung ating physical prototype? Anong mga suggestions yung pupwede? Okay. One way is going to a professional prototype designer or getting an engineer to build your prototype. Ano nga ba kasi yung kagandahan kung nagawa ng physical prototype? Or maipunta na sa physical prototype yung iyong ginawang virtual drawing. Anong kagandahan nun? It's for you to see if the product has no other flaws na. Kapag ka naka-physical prototype na kasi, mas madali nang makita kung saan or anong parts pa ang dapat i-modify, dagdagan o alisin. Ano po? So this is the example of a physical prototype. Yan. And another one. Okay. Yun. Sabi nga natin, makikita yung mga flaws. Mas madaling makita. Now, by early knowing the flaws, ay mas maaga ding mafi-fix ang mga ito. Siyempre, pag okay na lahat, the last step or the fourth step would be to locate a manufacturer that can produce your product at a profitable price. Yan. Manufacturers that offer free samples and three-dimensional printing can help you cut costs both in testing and production phases. Ayan. If your idea kasi is going to be profitable, you need to be able to build it at a cost that is low enough that you can cover your expenses without cutting too far into your revenue. Paano yun? Paano mangyayari yun? Sabi nga dyan, seek for manufacturers that offer free samples and 3D printing that can help you cut costs both in testing and production phases. Yun yung isa, para makatipid ka. Now, other suggestions na research natin is that you can go to multiple suppliers and manufacturers to get estimates para makakuha ka ng mga estimates. Bakit? Anong purpose nun? Ba't ka kukuha ng estimates? So, you can determine the most cost-efficient materials and methods for putting your prototype into production. Siyempre, una nga dun nga sa makakatipid ka sa production phases, di ba? And then sa manufacturing process. So, ngayon, pag nag-canvas ka, pag nagkakuha ka na ng estimates, makikita mo kung saan yung pinaka-mura. But, not disregarding the quality of the materials naman. Kung saan lang mas makakamura, pero hindi masasacrifice yung quality ng iyong product. Yan. So, those are the steps in building a prototype. And now, let us move to what we call the MVP validation. Here, we will going also to discuss the MVP testing and as a continuation of validation. But first, let us recall what is an MVP. Okay, the term MVP or minimum viable product is the version of your product that fulfills your business goals and tests your initial market research with the least amount of effort. And to add, it can evolve and be iterated upon based on user adoption and feedback. So ano ibig sabihin yan? It is simply functioning as a fully working product that includes the main functionality to provide the core value of your product. Yun po ang tinatawag na minimum viable product. So, kung titignan mo, parang parehas sila ng prototype na itetest din doon sa market. So, paano nga ba ito na iba sa prototype? Ang prototype kasi, kagaya ng napag-aralan natin on the last reports, its main focus was on the visualization of the product or on how it will look like and feel. Kasi this is your first attempt to make a working model, while an MVP or the minimum viable product was further along in the product development process. Sa makatwid, magagawa ang MVP once you have tested out any hypothesis through prototyping and got proof of the concept. Ibig sabihin, mas mauuna po talaga ang prototyping process bago magkaroon ng tinatawag nating minimum viable product. Para sa mas malinaw na connection ng dalawa, a prototype is the foundation for what will become the minimum viable product. Ibig sabihin, out from those suggested prototypes, and nakapili ka na ng isang ide-develop. Diba sabi nga natin noon na hindi lahat ng prototypes ay magiging final product. Kasi yung prototypes, pwede kang gumawa ng marami na iba't iba yung design but same product. So doon naman sa may MVP, sinasabi doon na once may ipupursu ka na or itutuloy ko na, may napili ka na doon sa mga prototypes na yun, possibly, kapag yun ay pinondohan, yun na magiging MVP na iti-testing sa initial market, which is to be distributed. Ano po? Another thing is that prototyping helps us understand the feasibility of an idea, where the MVP is more about validated learning. Ibig sabihin, pag attainable na yung isang prototype at na-fix na rin yung mga nakitang flaws, doon na mismo ipuput into production. Yun na magkakaroon ng tinatawag na minimum viable product. Kung yun na yung napili, yun na yung pupondohan, yun na rin yung testing for distribution. Ano po? Now, upon distributing MVP on your initial market, there are many testing strategies, but what we are to discuss is the beta testing. So, first, what is the beta testing? Beta testing is the final round of testing before a product is finally released to a wide audience. The objective is to uncover as many bugs or usability issues as possible in this controlled setting. So sabi nga natin kanina, 'di ba? Bago magkaroon ng MVP, kailangan may napili kaya out from those suggested prototypes. Ngayon, bakit kailangan na naman na mag-uncover ng many bugs upon distributing the MVP? Sa MVP po kasi, hindi naman tumitigil dyan yung development. Kasi sa MVP, ang nilagay lang na features niya is the main features. Wala pa yung additional feature ng product. Kaya nga po, patuloy yung development hanggang maging final product na yung MVP na napili. Ayan. So, sabi nga dito, the objective is to uncover as many bugs and usability issues as possible in this controlled setting. Bakit sinabing sa controlled setting lang? Small groups muna bago sa pangmaramihan. Hindi ito pwedeng isagawa sa laboratory o sa stage environment lang, kundi sa real users na But sabi ko nga kanina, only in the small or controlled groups lang muna. Now we have two kinds of beta testing. The open beta testing and the closed beta testing. So, doon sa may open beta testing, anyone is able to use the product and is usually presented with some messaging that the product is in beta and given a method for submitting their feedback. Halimbawa na lang yung sa isang mall noon na alala ko, yung Andy Cola noon na tinitest sa isang department store ng isang mall wherein nag-announce sila na yung product is in beta testing. And anyone can taste it provided that they will submit their feedback through choosing between happy emoji and sad emoji na ihuhulog nila doon sa may box. So kapag happy emoji ang pinili mo na kunin, ibig sabihin satisfied ka, nagustuhan mo yung drinks. And kapag sad emoji ay hindi. Sa closed naman, closed beta testing, testing is limited to a specific set of testers who may be composed of current customers, early adopters, or paid beta testers. Dito naman, maliwanag na pinili na talaga yung mga testers. For example, pwede silang mag-hire or magbayad na lang ng mga testers. So, yun po yung sa part ng MVP testing. Now, lastly, for the MVP validation, recommended siya upon starting a business. Why do we need nga ba to validate the minimum viable product? Let's see. Remember that your minimum viable product should be something people can and want to actually engage with. It doesn't need to be beautiful, but it does need to provide a good user experience that allows people to interact with the features. So, bakit tayo nag-validate ng MVP? Kasi nga, the end purpose of this is to speed up the development and invest time in features that potential users expect. Napakahalaga po kasi ng user feedback sa further development ng iyong product. Kasi sabi ko nga 'di ba kanina, ang MVP, ang nilagay lang mismo doon is its main functionality. Wala pa po yung mga additional features. So saka mo pa lang malalagyan yan ng additional features o saka mo ulit madadagdagan after ma-receive mo na yung feedback ng iyong users. Kung affordable ba sa users yung product, kung ano yung mga features na parang gusto nilang meron dapat sa product na yun, if it will be as exciting as you think to your target users. So, yun yung mga i-consider. Yan. So, upon validating in an MVP kasi, wala kasing specific template yan. Ibig sabihin, it depends on what you want to achieve. It depends din kung ano yung business mo. So, depende rin kung ano yung gagamitin mong pang-validate or pang-assess kung feasible ba na kikita yung produkto mo. So, kanya-kanyang assessment yan. Depende po sa business. So, in conclusion, this approach won't work for most startups, but it just goes to show that there is no template for validating your idea or creating a successful MVP. It's entirely dependent on your business and what you want to achieve. Yun nga po sabi natin. Depende pa rin talaga sa business mo at what you want to achieve. Lastly, most startup ideas can be executed in many different ways. And a lot of experienced entrepreneurs and investors will agree that success is a result of execution over ideas. Yun yung isa sa mga pinaka-importante. Kaya nga kinakailangan natin makapag-build ng prototype at out from that prototypes ay makapili tayo ng gagawing minimum viable product, and then yung i-distribute na minimum viable product i-test sa small groups muna. Kapag may further developments pa, may additional features na ilalagay para sa ganun ay mapunta na ito at magawa bilang final product. Kasi po, mas maganda na na-execute lahat ng ideas into reality kaysa naman nananatiling ideas lang. So that is our lesson for today. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned a lot. And good day, everyone.